I'm gonna get banned for this, I just know it. Alright. See if I can find some like smooth jazz or something that I can play. That I can play to this without everything just falling apart. I need to find non-copyright sexual music. We need to have like the perfect vibes for this. Otherwise it doesn't work. It's too raw. I'm just gonna have some like some classical music. This should work. All right. Hello. I need to do a lot of things before I can actually read this thing. Like a ton of. I need to do so much stuff. I'm like getting ready for bed. Sexy music. I'm trying to find like some. I'm trying to find a place where I can find sexy music. This is a little sexy. All right. Let me just add a thing to text. A new source. We're reading. We're reading. Let me just double check something. What time is it for me? It's like almost midnight. I'm like about to go to bed, but I needed to. It's not that I want this out in the world, but I do. Reading case 12. Case 12 from transvestites. The erotic urge to cross dress. Thank you, Fragilis, for subbing. I might actually disable all notifications after I do this. Can I make this like yeah. So dark. All right. Some royalty-free sexy music. Oh. All right. Oh, this is good. Excellent find. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. We're setting up volume. I'm gonna export this to YouTube, so it needs to have good copyright things, and we're gonna have it great. It's gonna be a very, very short stream. I'm not playing a game. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna read a story and I'm done. So I'm rereading for the purpose of the stream. We're starting now. We're live. I'm about to go to bed, which is why I'm looking so disheveled and I'm in my robe. But so it's gonna be very short. But I've been rereading Transvestites, the erotic urge to cross-dress, which is a foundational work by Magnus Hirschfeld, who was one of the early sexologists and a pioneer on trans science. Truly one of the greatest scientists that ever existed, like a really interesting person. He writes this book this is a scientific book on people that he calls transvestites. He coins the term transvestite. He invented this term. And he groups in everyone who does some sort of cross-gender expression. This was written before coined the term transsexual. So there are some trans people in here and then some like fetishists and some cross-dressers in here as well, because he hasn't really figured out the difference between these groups yet. This is an academic work, and I haven't read it in so long since I did uni, but here we go. Science in this time was done by case studies. As in, you talk to a patient and you try to get out as much information you can about that one. Not really studies, not really like statistics, but you talk to individual people and see what they're up about. There are 17 cases in the book, in total. This is from case 12. And I'm going to give a little bit of a background. The person who writes the story we're about to read is in the book called Mr. M, who is a lawyer in his middle 20s. Today, we might refer to this person as a trans woman, maybe not. We don't really know, the term doesn't really exist, but that is the writer of the story we're going to read now. Because, and Hirschfeld says this too, there is a connection between the sexual and the artistic. So we are going to do that. I'm just going to bring my microphone a bit closer. Now this is basically as raunchy as you can get in 1910. This is going to be fun. All right. Reinhold was a happy student. He had many friends and spent many carefree days with them. There was only one thing he could never understand and share his feeling about with them. That was the passion for women and sexual intercourse. To be sure, women did attract him, and especially when they were chic and elegant, but mostly strange thoughts welled up inside him when he saw them. Oh, if only you could wear such chic apparel, just one time, and look so charming and be so admired. But he soon banished these effeminate yearnings to the depths of his heart, and acted as if he were like the others. He was peculiarly shy with men, and he could not find the basis for it, and likewise with touching them. One day, when he was wandering through Tiergarten Park, he noticed that an elegant, older gentleman was following him. An odd feeling made him slow down. The gentleman caught up to him and spoke to him. He looked at him so strangely with his beautiful, serious eyes. Reinhold had to lower his gaze. He was afraid of them. They got into a conversation and before parting, made arrangements for another time. Thus did they often meet and got better acquainted. Reinhold put a great amount of trust into the friendly gentleman. He began to look at him differently from other men. The latter flattered him about his beauty, which always embarrassed him, and yet he liked it very much to hear it. He said nothing to his friends about his new acquaintance. His friend, who called himself Edmund, even visited him once. They sat on the sofa to have a chat, and in the course of the conversation, he put his arm around his neck. A shudder penetrated his whole body. Oh, if only Edmund would now press his bearded lips, he wore a trim, pointed beard, onto mine. He felt an odd, sweet feeling of lameness. But no! How awful, bearded lips, one on top of the other. And two men on top of that. Shame. And taking fright, he took away the arm of his friend and jumped up. The latter appeared to have noticed nothing. One day, when they were talking about entertainment, Edmund said, Do you know what? On Wednesday, there's going to be a big masquerade here. We should go. Indeed, but in what costume? Reinhold replied. I have a fabulous idea. You should go as a cross-dressed, elegant prostitute, with me as your cavalier. You would look charming in women's clothing. Yes, please do me this favor. He looked at him, with pleading eyes, grasping his hands. Reinhold could not resist. He rejoiced inside. His heart's desire was to be fulfilled. Yes, but how are we going to do that? He replied, shyly. Just leave that up to me. You come over to my place on Wednesday afternoon. Everything will work out. Okay. Agreed, Reinhold said, smiling. Look, it'll be delightful. You look so good as a young woman that no one will recognize you. Then Edmund took a few measurements, and they parted. The next day, Reinhold found himself feverishly excited. He could only think of his friend and of Wednesday. Edmund would clothe him as a woman, people would look at him as a beloved, and Edmund would treat him as his beloved. Reinhold would have to conduct himself as a woman in regards to Edmund, and for moments would he perhaps totally forget that he was a man. Heavenly sweet thought. He dared not follow out his train of thought. He already thought himself a woman in the arms of his lover. For he did love him. He knew that now, and not only his friend, but also the handsome, strong, intelligent man. At 4 o'clock sharp, Reinhold stood in front of Edmund's apartment in an elegant house in a Berlin suburb. He rang the bell, shyly. His friend opened up and immediately led him through a tastefully furnished living room into a wonderful bedroom. You can look at the rooms later, but just now, come in here. The entire room was done in white and pink, but Reinhold hesitated. It appeared set up for a married couple. A large king-size bed, a double washstand, a dressing table, just as a woman would have it. Edmund smiled at the surprise of his friend's face. Yes, I was married once, but now I'm divorced from my wife. It wasn't my fault, but I'm happy for her sake, and my own. He added, sighing. Then he rang. An older lady in a house dress appeared. This is my little friend, who you are supposed to make into a little girl today, Brigitte. And this is my housekeeper, Brigitte, who has been taking such good care of me ever since I was a child, Edmund said, introducing her. Do you think it will work? He said, then turning to her. Brigitte looked the youth over. Yes, splendid. He will make a charming little slut. The men will go crazy for him. Reinhold's face got redder and redder. He was terribly ashamed by his role, which Edmund had persuaded him to assume in front of this woman, yet her prophecy delighted him. Well, shall we begin? Edmund said, the odd smile still on his lips. Reinhold looked at him, pleading. Don't you stay here, please. Well, you modest young lady, if you cannot tolerate men around you when you are doing your toilette, then I guess I'll have to go. But just you wait. I'll get back at you later. Then there began a feverish activity. Reinhold had to get undressed. Brigitte shaved off his small blonde moustache, and off his heavy eyebrows she left only a narrow, neatly curved line. But what if people see me like this tomorrow? He dared ask. It'll grow back soon, she said, unruffled. Then she took a needle, and before he knew what she was doing, she struck it in his earlobe. Ouch! He screamed. No, don't do that. You have to, she explained. It'll all grow back again. She hung 2 large, fake diamond earrings in his ears. He knew that in a few days he could not let anyone see him. She then put a wonderful, gold blonde wig over his head. It was terribly heavy, and, in his opinion, she had used too much glue to stick it on with. The hair on his arms and legs, likewise, was done away with. How are you doing, folks? How are you doing in this academic literature? This is Weimar era? Yes, it is. But why are you doing that? Because a young lady like you has to look pretty everywhere. She rubbed some fragrance on him. That excites the men terribly, she said. But that doesn't do me any good, she shouted, shocked. But he let her continue to rub it in, and joyfully excited, he took a deep breath. Then followed getting dressed, makeup and hairdressing, the detailed description of which filled the writer with enthusiasm. Reinhold looked in the mirror at himself, from head to toe, with his eyes half closed. Satin and lace rustled about his knees. The narrow corset forced him into a womanish stature. The gentle plumage of the boa around his neck, the heavy, burdensome hair, the long, narrow gloves. All of this whipped his senses into a pleasure never before experienced. In no time, he assumed the movements of a woman. It was as if it was his second nature. He forgot about everything else. It was burning to be admired by his lover. Brigitte was overjoyed. Oh, how happy Edmund will be. Right now, I will lead Madame to her cavalier, she said, opening the folding door, and led the embarrassed and hesitant person into the living room. Reinhardt reddened under the makeup. His lover stood there, smiling, elegant as ever, in frock coat, handsome as a god. He could have flown into his arms had not Brigitte's presence held him back. Edmund gallantly kissed the hand of his beauty. Congratulations! Well, are you satisfied with your transformation, my little dear? No, came shyly from Reinhardt's lips. I was right, wasn't I? But what should we call him? Brigitte said, joking. We should call him Lily. Our sweet Lily. You do like the name, madam? Edmund asked, joking. Reinhold did not answer. Every fiber in his body quivered with excitement. No wonder. Here I am, standing here gaping. Brigitte suddenly called out, "Consider me gone." And with that, she disappeared, and in an instant, Lily felt herself being embraced by the arms of her lover. She wanted to pull away in girlish bashfulness. In vain. The rustling of the dress, the heavy hair, the intoxicating fragrance, all that let her forget who she actually was. She was now the desired woman who had yearned so long for the kisses of her beloved man. Without resisting, she allowed herself to be laid on the divan. You sweet, dear man, thank you 1,000 times. I'll be yours forever. Kill me, but let me be your woman, she stammered, wildly biting his teeth into the lips of his lover. He suddenly jumped up, and looked at the charming image of a perplexed woman in the mirror. "You monster! What have you done?" He screamed, aghast and filled with shame and regret. He hurried as fast as his clothing would allow him into the adjoining room. My God, what's happening here? He wanted to get away from here. He looked for his things everywhere to no avail. They had disappeared. He was a prisoner, and so he could not escape his fate. He knew that for certain. His insides waged a furious war, and, weeping bitterly, he threw himself onto the bed. But Edmund had followed him with a cynical smile. He seemed to be charmed by his perplexity. He silently stepped over to her and bent over the sobbing pretty thing. A soft, deep kiss on the neck made her whole body shudder. He gently lifted her up and led the unresisting one, and cleverly calculating, brought her in front of the mirror. Well, what is the matter, my sweet little Lily? He consoled her lovingly. I'm uncertain. I want to leave. Give me back my things, please, please, were the words that came from Reinhold's lips shyly. Your things? But darling, look here. Doesn't this sweet, fragrant toilette that you have on, doesn't it belong to these full, cherry lips? To these sweet, lascivious girl's eyes? Don't you see? You're not a man at all. You are, indeed, a timid young woman, and for that reason you belong in these clothes. My dumb, little bitty woman. Yes, you are right, beloved, and I will always remain so, Reinhold whispered, thoroughly joyful. But my treasure, let's think about getting something to eat, Edmund said gaily. I'll call Brigitte so she can fix you up a little better. No, Reinhold called out after him. But Brigitte appeared right then with an odd smile on her face, which bothered him. She was terribly embarrassed in front of her. Edmund then led his lady into the dining room, where the table was already richly set and the teapot was steaming. The three of them ate. Brigitte instructed Reinhold, or rather Lily, like a daughter. She had to serve the tea, butter the rolls, help, etc. Lily hardly dared to raise her eyes. Only now and then did she steal a glance at her lover. Well, should we make our way to the ball? Edmund asked. It's getting late, children, Brigitte said, and Lily kept silent. After a meal, they chatted a little. Lily got only a very tiny lady's cigarette to smoke, to her dismay. She was annoyed in general that Brigitte treated her totally like a girl without any ado. But what else could she wish for? She even once said when it was time for Lily to go to bed. But I have to go home, she said. Not tonight, Edmund begged. Tonight, you are Lily, and you have no home other than this one. Like a somnambulant, she allowed herself to be led to the bedroom by the housekeeper. Lily wanted to take off the wig, but it won't come off. Bridget explained, I stuck it too firmly to your own hair, little lady. Just keep it on. You also look so pretty in it. And that is the story of a forced feminization fic written there. It leaves the ending to your imagination. They're leading into the bedroom. That's as much as you can get. That's the end of the story. I'm very sorry. This story is 110 years old, at least, probably more, like 115 years old. So if anyone wants to write more, let me know, and I'll do a sequel to this age-old transgender story. But this is how it goes. It's never gonna get as explicit as you would like, unfortunately. What would I rate it? For the time, for 1910, this was published. I would say 10 out of 10. You don't get forced feminization stuff like this in the past. Yeah. How did people like it though? How did people enjoy it? I've never seen chat be this excited over anything. You barely get this stuff in the present, that's true. You're only on the second to last page and they're only just getting to the bedroom. Yeah, like it leaves it to the imagination. But I think we can all know what happens in there. They're both going to the bedroom and she's not allowed to take her wig off. How am I supposed to go to sleep? But yeah, if anyone wants me to read a follow-up to this one, let me know, and I will read it. It is good to know that... Yeah. I will let Hirschfeld himself round off the story from his commentary. At this point, we will let the sample of Mr. M's manuscript rest. From what was said above, the ending is not too difficult to guess. So, hang on. That might mean that there is a sequel out there. That might mean that the ending is actually out there somewhere. It's just not published in this academic book because Hirschfeld leaves out the ending. So if anyone has access to the Hirschfeld archives, and if by golly good chance they actually survived like the Nazi era, there might be a forced feminization thing out there. But unfortunately they may have been burned by fucking Nazis. Right to follow me. I can't do this. Mia brings up the old trans relics. Listen, this is good literature. This is good stuff. There are other cases in here too that are also pretty kinky. But this one was like an actual story, like a short story that I could read. So I figured I would do that. If I find more ones, if I discover more erotic stories from the 1910s, I'm going to do it. The greatest cliffhanger of all time. You did miss, but you can go back because this is also going to. I'm going to put this on YouTube, on my YouTube live channel. So if anyone wants to read it there, you can. Yeah, that was a stream that I wanted to do. I'm going to let's see. As a mid-20s trans femme law student myself, the story speaks to me on a deep level. I can see the taboo aspect of it makes it so gripping. Yes, like even in the beginning of the story, I love this as a literary analysis thing. I love that she writes that she first complains when they begin to when she starts thinking about the possibility of kissing. It's like two mustaches together. It's not that great. And also we're both men. in like pre-World War I Europe. But that's not the first thing that comes to mind, it's the mustaches. Where's the best place to get a copy of Transvestites? Apparently Kindle. They're out of print physically, but you can get it on Kindle. Maybe get in contact with the Hirschfeld Institute in Germany. Because here's another difficulty of this, and I'm gonna say this before I end the stream. These case files are anonymous. We don't know the name of the patient. We only know some slight details, like their occupation, their age, some body configuration, but that's all we get. They are referred to as Mr. M. So mystery writer Mr. M wrote this this forced feminization. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. I'm actually gonna rate because I have like 150 viewers watching me read porn. So let's see who we can raid. But it's a very short stream. I'm gonna do more of this because this was actually really fun. Okay. If that's something that you would like, that is. If I can find like ancient trans stuff. Alright. I'm going to send you to Trash Future. I hope you all enjoyed this. And sucks we can't have more. I know, but hopefully someone will write a sequel for this. Honestly, okay, here's my final deal. If anyone writes a sequel to this, email me. You can find my email on my YouTube About page. Please email me, because I want to know it, and I want to read it, and I want to read it out. I will share it on Twitter and whatever. Like if you're a fanfic writer or whatever, like I'll spread it. All right, I'm sending it to Trash Future. Everyone have a wonderful day. It's not porn. Why are you touching your chat? Because my robe is opening up and I don't want to like flash the world. I'm wearing a robe because I'm going to bed. Do you have any more info on my October 8th lecture? Not right now. But that will come. Oh, god damn it. Didn't it work? Ah, sorry. Okay, we're gonna go now. Okay, yes, it's academic. It's actually scientific. But yeah, give Trash Future my best. Alright, goodbye.